Our top story tonight is about the Ukraine war. Russia unleashed one of its heaviest drone attacks on the Ukrainian capital in recent weeks. Ukrainian officials saying Russia's drone barrage involved dozens of Shahed-type attack drones launched late at night and staggered through the early hours of the morning to overwhelm the country's air defenses. Explosions were heard across multiple districts. Fires broke out in residential areas. Cars and shops were damaged. Emergency workers spent the early morning hours putting out fires and rescuing those trapped under the debris. Kyiv officials saying the attack was aimed at undermining civilian morale as winter approaches, a familiar pattern in Russia's seasonal pressure strategy in a way. And when daylight came, it revealed the scale of the destruction. Charred buildings, shattered windows, damaged infrastructure. Firefighters combed through the scorched courtyards and broken stairwells. Hospitals reported dozens of injuries from shrapnel to glass, from falling debris. And while Kyiv was still picking up the pieces at home, Ukraine also launched a major strike of its own. The Ukrainian president, in fact, said that his troops launched new strikes deep inside Russian territory using Ukraine's indigenous long-range, Long Neptune cruise missiles. He released a monochrome video showing a missile firing into the night sky. The Long Neptune was first tested by Ukraine in combat back in March and has a range of up to 1,000 kilometers. Zelensky says the missile program is becoming more accurate and more effective with each operation. Zelensky did not specify which targets were hit overnight, but earlier Russia said that Ukraine targeted one of its most strategic assets, the oil terminal located on the Black Sea. In fact, Russian officials saying their air defenses intercepted a barrage of Ukrainian drones, including maritime drones, just kilometers from the port. Now, here's why this port matters. It's a critical hub for Russia's oil exports. Any disruption there hits revenue, shipping, military logistics. But then this attack did not deliver the impact that Kyiv hoped for, in a way. Moscow claims no damage to oil infrastructure, no fires, no interruption in tanker movement. For Ukraine, this was meant to be a pressure point, a strike at Russia's war economy, in a way, a signal to Moscow and the world that it can still reach deep inside Russian territory. And to be fair, Ukraine has kept that pressure alive. But then the scale and the reach of its operations are still limited. And this latest attempt falling short only shows what has been obvious through 4 years of the war. The asymmetry of this conflict, in a way. Russia is pounding Kyiv far harder than Ukraine can hit back, it seems. And that imbalance, if it can be called that, in terms of firepower, resources, momentum, is exactly why Russia believes that time is on its side. Why it believes each passing week makes its position stronger at any future negotiating table. And Russia's foreign minister, by the way, has reiterated something Moscow has been saying for a long time now, that Russia remains open to dialogue. In an interview with an Italian newspaper, Lavrov said, I'm quoting here, "We are still ready to hold the second Russian-American summit in Budapest if it really builds on the well-developed results of Alaska." However, the date has not been determined. Russian-American contacts are continuing, quote unquote. That's the statement. But this is not new. Russia has consistently said it wants peace, that is, if it comes from mutual understanding, which essentially means that its conditions need to be met first. And Russia's terms for peace are unchanged: territorial control, security red lines, and acceptance of the new realities on the ground. The more Russia advances, the better positioned it will be whenever negotiations finally start, which is why Moscow has escalated pressure, not reduced it. And here's where things stand right now. Ukraine's front lines collapsing. Multiple places, including east and parts of the south, have seen Ukrainian withdrawals. Russia is slowly but steadily gaining ground. In fact, momentum equals leverage in a way. Every kilometer captured now becomes a bargaining chip later. Moscow wants to enter talks with maximum territory under its control. So it's war until peace, to put it simply. Russia's war will continue until a political settlement is reached. And that settlement will be shaped by realities on the ground, not just declarations. And the way things stand right now, there is no incentive to slow down, really. With Ukraine's defenses strained, the war fatigue settling in, it has set with Ukraine supporters. Russia is seeing no strategic logic as such in reducing the pressure. Therefore, in Russia's view, it seems pushing hard now accelerates the moment when Ukraine will have no choice but to come to the table. And Ukraine knows all this, and that's why the Ukrainian president welcomed the G7's call for immediate ceasefire. After dismissing such a possibility for years, Zelensky seems to now have conceded defeat in a way and is okay to use the current contact line as a starting point for negotiations. But until the talking table appears, the war will carry on. Tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan are hitting a boiling point. The two neighbors now standing on the edge of yet another potential conflict, a showdown brewing along one of the most volatile borders on the planet. Islamabad is drawing a unilateral red line, threatening military force to impose a crucial buffer zone. Special assistant to the Pakistani Prime Minister, in fact, confirmed the move. He revealed that Pakistan had already broached the explosive subject with the Afghan Taliban during recent talks. The message was unambiguous. If the Afghan regime fails to agree to the zone, Pakistan's armed forces are ready to unilaterally impose the mandate. The 2,640-kilometer Afghanistan-Pakistan border, known as the Durand Line, remains a deep wound. Afghanistan, remember, refuses to recognize it, viewing it as an artificial divide, slicing through Pashtun tribes. Now, Pakistan wants to go beyond the Durand Line and grab land inside Afghan territory, a move which has clearly angered the Taliban rulers of Afghanistan. Afghan foreign minister, in fact, says Pakistan should stop blaming Kabul for its problems and asks Islamabad to put its house in order, while accusing its neighbor of violating Afghanistan's sovereignty. Pakistan's government now claims it arrested 4 militants, including one who confessed. Pakistan's government says the network was handled and guided at every step by the high command based in Afghanistan. And this comes after a suicide bombing outside a court in Islamabad shredded the calm, killing 12 and injuring 27 earlier this week. It's interesting to note here that the Afghan Taliban swiftly condemned the Islamabad attack. Both nations are desperately trying to extend a fragile truce established in October after decades of violent cross-border attacks that killed scores earlier, 3 rounds of peace talks, but the latest one ending in early November in Istanbul made scant progress. In fact, mistrust running deep as negotiations stagnate. Now, as the accusations fly and forces mobilize, the question still is the region about to witness another cross-border conflict? The BJP-led NDA alliance has swept the Bihar elections. The Grand Alliance and Congress in particular have suffered a crushing defeat in the state. For Rahul Gandhi, this election is a serious setback, raises questions about his leadership and exposes deep weaknesses within the Congress and its ability to win elections. Successive defeats in elections have put a huge question mark on the grand old party's electoral future. Let's just break this down for you. Analysts saying the Congress party failed to connect with the voters at the grassroots level. The Grand Alliance struggled to present a unified front, with factionalism among partners weakening their message, the hesitation to fully back Tejasvi Yadav as the alliance's chief ministerial face factored in, while the vote theft charge against the BJP failed to strike a chord. Rahul Gandhi's Voter Adhikar Yatra, his long march in Bihar before the elections, may have created energy among the party workers, but that momentum failed to translate into votes. On the other hand, the NDA delivered a sweeping mandate. The BJP is set to emerge as the single largest party, while the RJD will lose its status as the largest party in the state. The NDA's success cannot be attributed to a single factor. It's the result of strong social coalitions, sharp strategy, decisive leadership coming together at the right moment. The JDU's performance continues to assert one thing, that Nitish Kumar continues to dominate the political landscape in Bihar. His personal credibility and reliable vote bank proving that he has not been subsumed by the BJP, making him a key pillar of the NDA's success. What also played out well for the JDU Supremo is the unprecedented surge in women voters. Nitish's long-term women-centric policies and rupees 10,000 direct assistance also paid off and perhaps led to the collapse of dynastic politics and new age challengers. Another key NDA ally, Chirag Paswan's party, made a strong show. It is currently leading in 6 seats and it has already won 13 seats. Now, this is a major turnaround from its performance in the 2020 Assembly election, when it won only 1 seat. Back then, it did not fight the election with the NDA. And with the final numbers yet to be disclosed by India's poll body, celebrations erupted early at the BJP headquarters in New Delhi. The excitement among the cadres went electric when Prime Minister Modi made a high-energy entry.
Narendra Modi! Narendra Modi! Narendra Modi! Narendra Modi! दोनों हाथ उठा के नरेंद्र मोदी! नरेंद्र मोदी! नरेंद्र मोदी! नरेंद्र मोदी! रिसीव के लिए 4 सीटें जो आई है, ये ऐतिहासिक है। अब यह इसलिए हुआ है कि मोदी है तो नरेंद्र मोदी! नरेंद्र मोदी! नरेंद्र मोदी! नरेंद्र मोदी! नरेंद्र मोदी!
Waving a gamcha, which is a traditional cloth in Bihar, the Prime Minister-led, BJP-led the NDA's landslide victory in Bihar. Those images from earlier in the evening. And in that victory speech, Prime Minister Modi vowed that the years of Jungle Raj will never return to Bihar. Listen to this.
Modi, Narendra Modi, 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 Modi. बिहार के चुनाव में जब मैं जंगल राज की बात करता था, कट्टा सरकार की बात करता था, तो आरजेडी के लोग कभी विरोध नहीं करते थे, लेकिन कांग्रेस वालों को बहुत चुभता था और बहुत मोदी क्या बोल रहे हैं, ऐसा क्या बोल रहे हैं। लेकिन आज मैं फिर कहना चाहता हूं, मैं कहूंगा अब वापस नहीं आएगी कट्टा सरकार, अब वापस नहीं आएगी, अब वापस नहीं आएगी, अब वापस नहीं आएगी। साथियों, बिहार के लोगों ने विकसित बिहार के लिए मतदान किया है।
And the Prime Minister also said that the Ganga flows from Bihar to Bengal. Bihar has paved the way for the BJP's victory in Bengal, will remove Jungle Raj from West Bengal as well. And the key takeaways now from that historic mandate. Congress remains the weak link. Nitish Kumar's vote bank holding strong. Voters' faith in the NDA's governance remains high, despite opposition attempts to challenge it. In fact, the Bihar election results sending out a clear message. Unified strategy, strong leadership, and development-oriented governance can crush the opposition efforts, while division, hesitation, missed strategy can lead to crushing defeats. For Rahul Gandhi and the Congress, this is a moment of reflection. For the NDA and Nitish Kumar, it's a landslide victory. Shifting focus now to a major update coming in from India. In the midst of that investigation into Monday's Delhi blast, a separate and widening crackdown taking place. The investigation centering on ricin, one of the deadliest biotoxins known to man. A chemical agent with no antidote, classified alongside military-grade nerve agents. And it has resurfaced in India's terror investigation, spanning multiple states, involving multiple arrests and alleged links to the Islamic State. So far, the Gujarat Anti-Terrorism Squad has arrested 3 men, including a foreign-trained doctor, allegedly attempting to produce ricin and planning attacks across India. On Friday, the Gujarat ATS recovered a sealed blue drum containing hazardous liquid, a seed oil press, sieves and funnels, industrial solvents, and several bottles of acetone from a house in Hyderabad described as a workshop. Now, this is where the main accused, Dr. Ahmad Mohyuddin Saeed, a foreign medical graduate from China, was allegedly trying to isolate and concentrate ricin. A second ATS team is now in Uttar Pradesh following leads on the other 2 accused, 20-year-old Azad Sulaiman Sheikh and 23-year-old Mohammad Suhail. Investigators saying the trio surveyed potential targets, including the RSS office in Lucknow, Delhi's Azadpur Mandi, and the fruit market in Ahmedabad. All 3 are charged under India's UAPA law and various sections of the India law. Now, new details showing the 2 UP-based suspects studied at the same madrasa in Muzaffarnagar. Families claim the men were innocent, focused on religious studies, but investigators say the 2 held extremist ideology, conducted reconnaissance of crowded locations, and sourced weapons allegedly sent by drone from Pakistan under a handler linked to the ISIS KP. And the reports go far to indicate a crude home-scale effort to isolate the toxin. Now, it's important to note here there is no established link between this ricin case and the car blast near Delhi's Red Fort early this week. Let's just put the focus back on that toxin, ricin. A highly potent toxin extracted from castor beans, the same beans used to produce castor oil. The seeds contain up to 5% ricin in their solid residue. It takes only a small amount to cause catastrophic damage. Ricin binds to the body's ribosomes, in fact, shutting down protein synthesis, triggering multi-organ failure and often death. There is no antidote anywhere in the world. Inhalation leads to respiratory collapse. Ingestion causes vomiting, hallucinations, seizures, organ shutdown. Death can occur within 36 to 72 hours. And this is why ricin is listed under Schedule 1 of the Chemical Weapons Convention, the same category as sarin and VX. Ricin has a long and dark history. In fact, it has appeared around the world earlier in some of the most notorious assassination and terror plots of the last century. In 1978, a Bulgarian dissident was killed in London in what is now a Cold War legend. A KGB-linked agent fired a ricin pellet into his leg with a modified umbrella. During World War I and II, several nations researched it as a possible chemical weapon. It was never deployed, but it remained on intelligence radars. From 1990 to 2003, Saddam Hussein's Iraq ran a ricin program experimenting with weaponization methods, details later uncovered by UN inspectors. And then in 2003, British police raided a London flat and found traces of ricin linked to a North African extremist cell operating in the UK. A decade later, 2013, the United States saw multiple cases, ricin letters mailed to President Obama and other senior officials. In 2018, one of Europe's most serious ricin threats came when German police caught a couple inspired by ISIS for building a ricin bomb inside their apartment. The German police seized enough to cause mass casualties, one of the largest ricin finds ever recorded in Europe. And across Europe, in fact, there have been multiple arrests of ISIS-inspired individuals trying to extract ricin from castor beans for crude weapons. As you can see, ricin has been a global security concern for a while now, but notably, no large-scale ricin terror attack has ever been successfully carried out. Therefore, what makes the current case in India so concerning is the combination of the lethal biotoxin, accessible raw materials, a motivated extremist module, and weapons delivered by drones across the border. The ATS is still piecing together intent, capability, the extent of the conspiracy, but one thing is clear. The reappearance of ricin in any terror investigation is a serious concern, a serious red flag, one that cannot be taken lightly. Before we go on any further, a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. While machines rise and AI increasingly makes its presence felt around the world, we assess where things stand in that race. We also get you a detailed report about the mysterious interstellar visitor. What's the latest on that? With Hitler's DNA unlocked, what are the revelations? What do we know now? We get to the complete story. You don't want to miss this? All this and more coming up. Shifting focus now to Iran, where the IRGC has publicly displayed domestically produced missiles and drones for the first time since the war with Israel in the month of June. The exhibition basically includes ballistic missiles, one with a range of 1,700 kilometers, also the Khorramshahr, reaching up to 2,000 kilometers. Also on display was the Fatah hypersonic series, known for speed and also for maneuverability. That's not all. Also on display were state-of-the-art air defense radars and drones capable of surveillance and targeted strikes. The exhibition was open for visitors who described the display as a show of national strength.
The fact that Iran is mentioned when missile power is discussed around the world is a sign of our science and technology.
It was a great feeling. After seeing the missiles and drones, I really got hopeful that we have a powerful Iran. I didn't know Iran had progressed to such a level. With the missiles I saw here, I don't think Israel could even fight against Iran.
The exhibition comes amid the lingering tensions between Iran and Israel following that 12-day war that they fought in June. Iran fired missiles that killed 28 people, and its missile capability remains a major concern for the West. The conflict, remember, started out with Israeli strikes on Iranian targets, to which Iran retaliated promptly, a conflict that escalated rapidly before a US brokered ceasefire announced by Donald Trump took effect. Still, Iran continues to restrict access to nuclear sites attacked during the conflict, keeping the region on edge. And early this week, we told you right here on Gravitas that Iran has quietly entered a new phase of missile production. According to experts, missile factories across the country are now running around the clock, 24 hours a day, to produce enough firepower to overwhelm the Israeli air defenses in the event of another war. Reports say that if conflict erupts again, Tehran plans to launch 2,000 at once. The scale of preparation underway right now is such that it includes long-range, precision-guided weapons capable of not only reaching Israel but also other US bases in the region and beyond. And this is why regional observers believe a new confrontation is not just possible, it could be inevitable. Iran is stepping up its missile capabilities as diplomacy is virtually at dead end. Iran's uranium enrichment has remained a point of contention with the US, with Tehran calling Washington's demand unacceptable and impossible for talks. Iran has been rather firm. It wants no direct talks, no capitulation. Instead, Tehran has laid down its own ground rules for the talks, and that includes no more sanctions, no further military attacks, and compensation for war damages. The US is unwilling to accept any of that, so the stalemate continues. Our next story is about the Miss Universe contest. A different kind of a battle is unfolding. There are days to go for the finals, but a lot is brewing already. Remember earlier we told you how several contestants had staged a walkout? Basically, a lot happened at a pre-pageant event. The man who owns the franchise in Thailand and is hosting this year's contest publicly confronted Miss Universe Mexico 2025. And several contestants, including the reigning Miss Universe, walked out in solidarity with Miss Universe Mexico 2025. Chaos, controversy, drama, a string of questions followed. Now there's another battle within, reportedly. This report talks about a contest playing out not among the contestants to win, but a clash reportedly between two men. That's right, not a contest among the women, but between two men. What's brewing? Reportedly, this clash is between the president of the Miss Universe organization. He is a Mexican businessman. And who is the other one? Reportedly, the man who owns the franchise in Thailand and is hosting this year's contest is on the other side, the one we just told you about. In case you're not aware, the Miss Universe organization is the body that owns and operates that global pageant. But what really is this about? They reportedly have differing visions. To put it simply, it's reportedly a clash between tradition and so-called TikTok commerce. Not just that, clearly there's a lot happening behind the scenes or behind the stage, shall we say. In fact, earlier, following that controversy at the pre-pageant event, the head of the Miss Universe organization reportedly accused the Miss Thailand director of having a constant desire to be the center of attention, adding that the only ones who should shine are the delegates who represent each of their countries with dignity. So all is clearly not well. Here's a question for you as well. What do you think about the purpose of such beauty contests in this day and age? Where do you stand in that debate? And if you haven't given it some thought already, that's some food for thought for you over the weekend. On to the future of AI. We don't just mean via your phone or your computer screen. It's right here in the physical world. I'm talking about the kind you can see, touch, and one day live alongside. From Japan to China, tech firms around the world are racing to develop humanoid robots that can perform everyday human tasks. From washing dishes, doing laundry, sweeping floors, even assisting in care homes in Japan. Demonstration of the open arm robotic arm teleoperated through a VR headset. The arm mirrors the operator's movements, training the AI to perform tasks autonomously.
We're very interested in deploying robots where robots can actually live alongside people in environments that's very chaotic and the conditions are always changing.
The open arm robotic system basically is a research tool, but it's also a glimpse of what physical AI could do in the future. Each movement of the arm, each task it practices, from picking up a cup to scrubbing a dish, is recorded to teach AI how to operate independently in real-world settings.
So you're trying to pick up the cup and pour it into another cup. You can show 50 demonstrations of it using this teleoperation setup, and then you can train the AI model. You can fine tune it, and it'll be able to perform the task autonomously.
In fact, the team planned to deploy semi-humanoid robots in Japanese care homes starting next summer itself. Initially, these robots will handle peripheral tasks like cleaning surfaces, washing dishes, doing laundry. It will free up the human caregivers, basically, to focus more on direct care.
I think we are just at the early stage of seeing the emergence of physical AI. Now, regarding physical AI today, I believe there is one crucial point that was invisible in the physical world, but has become apparent in the digital realm: the advantage of being a first mover. Data will be the most vital asset going forward. It functions much like oil, serving as a form of energy. I think whoever can acquire substantial, valuable data will be able to drive the future of AI or physical AI.
So-called physical AI is different from the text-based AI, of course. Unlike text-based AI, these robots must understand the laws of physics, recognize spatial relationships, operate safely alongside human beings. Teleoperation allows the engineers to collect crucial vision action data to teach them how to handle complex tasks. Japan's company has already approached more than 50 care facilities in the country to test these robots reportedly. By performing simple household tasks, the robots will learn, they will improve, paving the way for fully autonomous operation. And in China, meanwhile, similar testing going on, but in corporate settings, factories, and controlled environments, ensuring safety before entering homes. The company basically envisioning robots that can handle reception duties, assist in factories, or even provide guidance and companionship.
Well, we are training our robots in our factory today. They actually are going through a vast amount of human data input. We're actually having our employees really putting sensors and perceptions on them to collect the data and also to perfect the job scenarios. So these trainings will yield productive robots. Hopefully you can see it in our factory next year.
Across the world, physical AI is gaining momentum. In the US as well, some companies have made headlines with dog-like robots, agile humanoids. But Chinese and Japanese firms are also moving fast because they are being supported by their governments, strong domestic supply chains, and heavy investment. But experts caution that while humanoid robots are progressing rapidly, their physical abilities still lag behind AI ambitions. Still, the investment is booming. Japan's SoftBank recently purchased a robotics company for $5.4 billion, calling physical AI the next frontier. And as per Morgan Stanley, there will be more than 1 billion humanoid robots worldwide by 2050. More than 1 billion. In fact, physical AI is no longer science fiction, as you can tell. The next wave of AI is here, and it's stepping off the screen and into the real world around you. And speaking of humanoid robots, while Japan and China are pushing forward with physical AI, like we just told you, Russia faced a rather humbling moment in the global robot race. At a Moscow event, the country's first humanoid robot made its public debut and immediately face planted. Footage online showing the robot stepping onto the stage, raising its arm as if to greet the crowd before losing balance and crashing face first. Assistants then rushed to lift it with a curtain to conceal the scene. The developer said the machine is still in its learning phase, with the CEO telling Russian state media, quoting, "I hope this mistake will turn into an experience," quote unquote. The robot was designed to walk, handle objects, and interact with people, potentially useful in factories, warehouses, hospitals, entertainment. The Moscow event was meant to showcase Russia's advances in AI and humanoid robotics. But the incident highlights the challenge of competing in a field where Japan, China, and the US are surging ahead. In 2024 alone, investment in humanoid robot technology exceeded $1.6 billion. Not counting Tesla's multi-billion-dollar commitment to Optimus, the humanoid robot it has been developing since 2021. Shocking new evidence puzzling astronomers the world over. Mysterious interstellar visitor that we've been telling you about behaves unlike any comet seen before. Now, will this cosmic wanderer finally reveal its secrets, or will it deepen the mystery for generations to come? Our next report decoding this for you.
A shocking new investigation into the interstellar visitor. 3i Atlas has thrown the nature of this mysterious object into question. Originally classified as a comet, recent evidence challenges this long-held assumption and leaves astronomers puzzled over what this cosmic wanderer truly is. As 3i Atlas hurtles through the inner solar system, it reveals baffling anomalies that refuse to fit the classic comet blueprint. At high velocity and on a hyperbolic trajectory, this object appears to originate from another star system, but the real mystery is how it behaves. Look at this latest images. The trail of clues begins with the odd tail orientation. Instead of the tail pointing neatly away from the sun, jets appear directed inward or sideways, raising questions about its true nature. Then there's the color shift, unusually blue hues rather than the usual icy comet red. There is also the unexplained non-gravitational acceleration. Calculations suggest the object speeds up and changes course in a way that can't be explained simply by ice changing to vapor. Yet astronomers remain cautious. Many argue that natural models of ultra-old comets might explain oddities without invoking alien probes. Still, the observations show a string of surprises and mysteries that leave no doubt this visitor is rewriting the rules. And right now, in the heart of its solar flyby, 3i Atlas is doing something unexpected and the world is watching closely. Bureau report, WION world is one.
Over the past year, you've probably heard of the appetite-regulating hormone made famous by weight loss drugs like Ozempic. and others. These drugs have taken the world by storm, with millions now relying on them to manage their weight and control cravings. But now, two neuroscientists from London are reportedly offering a natural alternative, and it could perhaps transform the way we think about appetite control. For over a decade now, Dr. Madusha and Dr. Ruby Akhtar have been researching the intricate relationship between the gut and the brain and how this connection affects our hunger. Their work led to a groundbreaking discovery about a little-known hormone, which they claim could be even more effective than the hormone that the drugs focused on, unlike GLP-1, which is primarily involved in regulating insulin. This one works directly to reduce hunger and make us feel full for longer. In fact, they argue that it is even more powerful when it comes to suppressing appetite. While pharmaceutical companies have been synthesizing GLP-1 for decades, no one has yet figured out how to replicate the latest hormone, and that's where their innovation comes in. They have developed a capsule. It is designed to stimulate the gut's L cells, which basically release this hormone. The unique part of their discovery is that it targets those cells in the lower bowel. It's the same reason where a region where the hormone is naturally produced, by using a special coating that ensures that the capsule does not dissolve until it reaches the right spot. In fact, this breakthrough delivery system could help activate the L cells to release the hormone naturally, promoting feelings of fullness without the need for synthetic hormones or injections, perhaps. And there's more. This research suggests that the hormone remains in the body for up to 6 hours, ensuring a long-lasting effect on appetite, while GLP-1 only stays in the system for about 5 minutes, reportedly. They face a challenge, though. Modern diets filled with ultra-processed foods often don't provide the nutrients required to activate these cells. A 12-week supply costs over £500, about the same price as a 2-month course of weight loss injections. Experts are cautiously optimistic. While the science is innovative, could offer a natural alternative to synthetic weight loss treatments, many are still skeptical over whether it can match the weight loss effects of the higher dose drugs. Moody's has delivered a bullish forecast for India's economy, projecting it will grow at 6.5% through 2027. And this marks India as the fastest growing economy among the G20 countries, with growth expected to hold steady at 6.4% in 2026 and 6.5% in 2027. India's resilience coming despite global economic turbulence, particularly from the ongoing trade tensions and the tariff wars. Moody's credits India's diversified export base for its ability to weather the storm of the U.S. tariffs imposed under the Trump administration. While exports to U.S. dropped by nearly 12%, India managed to redirect its trade, with overall exports growing by 6.75% in September. India's growth has also been supported by a neutral to easy monetary policy stance from the Reserve Bank of India, which has kept inflation low and domestic conditions favorable for growth. Moody's highlighted that the RBI's decision to keep the repo rate steady in October reflects cautious optimism. It ensures the economy remains on track while inflation stays subdued. In fact, now India is thriving, and Moody's assessment of China's economic future, meanwhile, is less rosy. Despite being the world's largest manufacturing hub, China's economy is facing significant headwinds. Moody's projects China's GDP will grow at 5% in 2025, but will slow to just 4.2% by 2027, a sharp deceleration from past years. And this comes as China's factory output and retail sales grew at their weakest pace in over a year in October. It highlights the strain on the country's manufacturing sector. Industrial output was up just 4.9% year on year, down from 6.5% last year, putting additional pressure on its struggling export sector. But even with its massive industrial base, China's economy has been hit hard by the US-China trade war. Tariffs and the weak domestic consumption are weighing heavily on the growth, with less room to actually expand its industrial sector. China faces that uphill battle to regain its momentum despite the government stimulus and strong export numbers. The country's domestic fundamentals remain weak, including uneven consumption and shrinking fixed asset investments. As for the global outlook, Moody's forecasts global GDP will grow at 2.5% to 2.6% through 2027, with advanced economies expected to grow at about 1.5%. Meanwhile, emerging markets led by India will continue to expand at a much stronger rate, near 4% annually. In Europe, Moody's sees a modest improvement, driven by employment gains, wage stability, and the European Central Bank's monetary easing. Germany's investment in defense and public infrastructure is expected to help boost the growth. In short, while India is on track to become the world's fastest growing major economy, China is showing signs of economic stagnation despite its vast manufacturing sector. And as the global markets continue to evolve, India's growth story is one to watch. The Thailand king is in Beijing on a historic 5-day state visit to China at the invitation of the Chinese president. Accompanied by his wife, the king greeted at the airport by the Chinese foreign minister. These visuals from earlier.
Thailand has just by Queen Suthida.
The visit coming days after the visit by Spain's king, remember, to China early this week. The Thailand king was greeted by Xi Jinping at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing earlier. The visit marking the first visit to China by a Thai monarch since the establishment of diplomatic ties between the two sides. In 1975, during the visit, President Xi and the Premier will hold separate bilaterals with the king to discuss issues of shared interest. China is the first major country that the king is paying an official visit to since ascending the throne in 2016. And this year marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of China-Thailand diplomatic ties and the golden jubilee of China-Thailand friendship. China has been Thailand's largest trading partner for many years now. Thailand bought $80 billion of goods from China last year. China is also a top source of visitors for Thailand's vital tourism sector and a major investor in industries like automobiles. A piece of blood-stained cloth cut from the scene of a moment in history has led to a groundbreaking scientific discovery. Years later, the fragment of history has allowed scientists to sequence Adolf Hitler's DNA, unlocking a whole new chapter in our understanding of the dictator. In a world first, the experts have unraveled the biological blueprint of one of the most infamous figures in history, and what they found is as astonishing as it is unsettling. In the upcoming Channel 4 documentary, Hitler's DNA, Blueprint of a Dictator, viewers reportedly will be guided through the startling findings. And the most striking discovery is that Hitler had Kallmann syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that impairs the development of sexual organs and puberty. Though often a subject of ridicule during his lifetime, the newly discovered condition provides a sobering explanation for many of the rumors about his physicality.
There's been historical documentation that Hitler had right-sided cryptorchidism, so this is an undescended testicle. And there's been the rumors about how he was teased during World War I for having, very small genitalia. So we sent it to a team at the Pasteur who look at genes to do with sexual development, and they very quickly spotted one which is very rare, but is well known, and it's in a gene known as PROC2. And it's strongly associated with Kalman syndrome and congenital hypogonadism, some trips off the tongue.
In fact, the impact of this genetic discovery goes far beyond mere physicality. Historians speculating that Hitler's inability to form intimate relationships may have shaped his obsessive devotion to politics, possibly contributing to his unique single-minded pursuit of power. Another revelation centers on the long-standing rumor about Hitler's ancestry. For years, some suggested that the dictator may have had Jewish blood, given his virulent anti-Semitism. The genetic findings put that rumor to rest. Hitler's ancestry is confirmed by his genome, is Austrian-German, precisely as he had instructed the gynecologist to prove during his lifetime. In London, a massive immersive exhibition has brought the ancient city of Pompeii back to life. Using virtual reality and cutting-edge technology, the visitors can now walk through the streets, homes and villas of the Roman city, frozen by the eruption of the volcano nearly 2,000 years ago. Take a look. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Kampir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From timeless legends to modern day actors, we take a look at Indian actors with the maximum number of hits to their credit.
Now we are re-releasing the film with the original end.
Meet Indian lyricist screenwriter Javed Akhtar and know all about the evolution of storytelling in animation. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
Iran claims to possess a missile that can reach the United States and says it has broken a US-Israeli spy network. Partition fears return to Gaza as Trump's plan hits a wall. defiant Hezbollah takes aim at Israel and the US. The group says it will not disarm under pressure.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is one.
On Inside South Asia, a deadly car blast ripped through the heart of New Delhi. The terror incident has exposed a white-collar terror network pan-India. Pakistan's Asim Munir gets expanded power. A lifelong immunity after 27th Amendment is passed. And a look at timeless ties of India and Bhutan. All this and much